Greetings everyone, welcome to video number 10 in the project management series presented by Process Geekoid. Today's agenda, we will be going over reviewing the PMBOK process table as well as the seventh process, which is plan scope management process. This process occurs at the intersection of the scope knowledge area and the planning process group. As always, please subscribe, like, and comment. Without further ado, let's move forward. After getting our project charter signed off from stakeholders, it is now time to plan for each part of the project. The first part of planning includes the scope, which explains what we intend to deliver from the project. So that's the whole essence of planning for scope management. Next, we need to understand types of scope. There are two possible scope options for any given project. Product scope, which is the technical functional aspects of the product, service, or result. So features and functions that characterize the product, service, or result. The completion of product scope is measured against the product requirements. So the product scope focuses on the product. So for example, the smartphones that we all use nowadays have a touch screen with a keyboard, a web browser, power button, GPS built into it, a centralized web store from Android or Apple to obtain applications, and many other optional features that are all part of the product scope. So that must be determined before determining the project scope. So, for example, in Apple, if they're making a new phone, let's say the iPhone 8 or 7, or whichever model that comes out, the first thing that pops into their mind as a company or as a unit is that they will determine the product scope, what they want to add to the new phone, before determining the project scope. So this binds your organization to the client. What do you intend to deliver for your client or the customer? So the product scope is very crucial. Otherwise, you don't want to build something that the customer does not want. So the product scope is really critical, and that drives the project scope. So the project scope, on the other hand, is the work performed to deliver the product, service, or result with the specified features and functions. The project scope is viewed as including the product scope within it, and the completion of the project scope is measured against the project management plan. Keep in mind that the project management plan houses the scope management plan. The scope management plan is the ultimate output of this process and falls under the project management plan as a whole. Next, we'll be going over the ITTOs. So, plan scope management documents how the project will be defined, validated, and controlled to meet project objectives. The key benefit of this process is it provides guidance and direction on how scope will be managed throughout the project. Now, the ITTOs here, inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs for plan scope management are as follows. For inputs, we have the project management plan, the project charter, enterprise environmental factors, which are things that are outside of the project management team, such as government regulations, company culture, and industry standards. Organizational process assets are standard organizational policies and procedures for managing scope. Historical lessons learned or information tied to scope planning are also part of the OPAs. Next, for tools, we have expert judgment and meetings. Expert judgment could come from the form of other project managers within the organization, project management office or PMO with historical data, professional technical associations such as PMI, internal subject matter expert or SME, knowledge information gained from experienced individuals within the company, or a consulting firm with expertise on that topic such as McKesson. Next, we have meetings, which go over lessons learned from previous projects and plan scope accordingly from historical data and SMEs in the PMO or Project Management Office. The scope planning meeting should be very thorough to give all stakeholders a clear picture of the expected outcome from the project. That's really important because that needs to be signed off in the project management plan before we work on the project itself. This is just as important as a project charter because the charter is feeding in, but out of this comes a scope management plan because the plan for the scope has to tie to the charter. We don't want to violate the overall project charter at all. So the scope management plan has to tie to it very tightly. And that's really important. So the output now is going to be the scope management plan and requirements management plan. So the whole point of doing all this is to get these outputs, but also the key benefit of this process is that it provides guidance and direction on how scope will be managed throughout the project. Both of these plans as the output will do that. Well, let's take a look exactly what these two plans have. So the scope management plan has processes for preparing a detailed project scope statement, process that enables the creation of the work breakdown structure. It also has the process that establishes how the WBS will be maintained and approved. It also has the process that specifies how formal acceptance of the completed project deliverable will be obtained. And lastly, in the scope management plan, we have to have a process to control how requests for changes to the project scope statement will be processed. Next, in the requirements management plan, we have requirements, how they will be planned, tracked, and reported. Next, we have configuration management activities, how the end deliverable will be configured to take in those requirements. And then requirements prioritization process is also outlined in the requirements management plan, along with product metrics that will be used and rationale for using them. And also requirements traceability structure in a matrix to reflect which requirement attributes will be captured on the requirements traceability matrix. So that is all outlined in the requirements management plan. So as you see, this is really crucial before moving forward in scope. So please keep that in mind. And with that, this concludes the video. As always, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment.